Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Franchise Unfiltered podcast. Today, I'm joined by Mike Pearce. Mike is the Chief Development Officer for RenewMedic. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wes. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. This is such a unique concept. Interesting backstory here. You and I figured out chatting before we started recording. We have some mutual acquaintances from the ServiceMaster organization, which is where RenewMedic kind of, or at least the concept of it, kind of stems from. So, anyways, give us kind of a quick introduction to yourself and maybe a real high level overview. You know, what is RenewMedic and what do you guys do, and then we'll unpack it from there.
Sure. Just a quick introduction. I'm in my 38th year in franchising. Been involved with some of the biggest franchise companies in the industry. Used to lead franchise development at Domino's Pizza. I spent many years at ServiceMaster, and after that at Authority Brands, and had retired once Authority Brands transacted and sold about 3 years ago now, and had an opportunity to invest in purchasing FurnitureMedic from ServiceMaster, and took that. I'm an investor alongside our private equity group, Eagle Merchant Partners, and purchased or FurnitureMedic from ServiceMaster. So.
Yeah, it's quite a resume. Domino's, ServiceMaster. I mean, most people listening, even if you're not familiar with ServiceMaster, you've seen ServiceMaster brands out there and about. They're a kind of a legacy organization within franchising. And this is not the first time I've heard a story kind of like yours, Mike, where someone that's had a lot of experience and a lot of success in franchising gets to a point where they retire, and then some new concept comes along and it's just too tempting, right? And you're like, hey, I got to be a part of that. Like this has got something unique. There's something special here. So I'm gonna come out of retirement and run with this. So I'm glad you did, because like I said, this is a cool brand. It's unique. So give us kind of the quick rundown on what is RenewMedic.
So RenewMedic is a very unique first mover opportunity. It is disrupting the disaster restoration space. It's a specialty disaster restoration brand that focuses on cabinets and cabinet restoration. So for years and years under FurnitureMedic, we had franchisees doing this work, as disaster restoration cabinet work, for over a decade now. And these were our largest franchisees, million dollar franchisees. The name FurnitureMedic didn't do much for that business. I actually pitched the idea of FurnitureMedic to the ServiceMaster CEO over a decade ago, and I got turned down, but I thought this is an opportunity to take that idea, create the new brand RenewMedic. We converted a number of those franchisees over, and they are operating. And like I said, they've been doing this for over a decade and still going strong, growing their business significantly. And but it's a brand where we have solved the problem for years and years. The problem is when cabinets got damaged. Nobody believed you could just take out the damaged cabinets. It's typically lower cabinets sitting in water, or upper cabinets that get fire from the stove.
Yeah.
Nobody believed you could just extract those damaged cabinets, 25-year-old, 50-year-old cabinets, take those out, put new ones in, and have them perfectly match all the other cabinets around. And so they would wipe out a kitchen, and that's typically 4 months. You're in an Airbnb. It's a $40,000 new kitchen expense for the insurance company. It's putting you up in that Airbnb for 4 months. Your life is disrupted. And we have solved for that. We can just extract the damaged cabinets, repair them, replace them in a matter of a couple of weeks. We're typically waiting on the disaster restoration mitigation company to dry and to replace the sheetrock and flooring. We prop up the countertops, keep the kitchen in working order, and reinstall them in 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long it takes to dry and prep the kitchen ready for reinstall.
So you're able to keep people in the house the majority of the time versus having to move out and, like you said, stay in an Airbnb or something for months on end.
Yeah,
typically.
we solved that problem for a homeowner. We solved the problem of out of control costs for insurance companies,
Yeah.
and we shortened the cycle time or the repair time for the mitigation companies. They're no longer on a job for 4 or 5 months. They're done with that job in 2 to 3 weeks. So
Yeah, that's huge, right? It's a win-win. What win-win for everyone involved is is
yeah,
winning, right?
it's
But
triple
I mean,
win
like
for sure.
I think about
So
us. We have 3 kids, two of which are under 5, right? Like if God forbid, we had a fire or a flood in our house, and they were like, "Hey, we can fix everything, but you're gonna have to go stay in an Airbnb for 3 months."
yeah,
That would be such a disruption, to
mhm.
our everyday life. You know what I mean? And it is for anyone, but I
It's a
just
bigger disruption for elderly as well. So
oh yeah, yeah, probably even more so, right?
yeah.
So yeah, that's a game changer. We know the insurance companies are motivated to, try to cut costs, try to trim the timelines on these projects down. So yeah, it's pretty unique, and I definitely want to get into a little bit more of how you're able to do what you do, but
Mhm.
um, I think just to kind of make sure people fully understand, there's really nobody else out there doing this. You guys have actually kind of coined a term for what you do with fixing these cabinets.
Yeah, so we call ourselves one of our newest franchisees said it. He goes, "We're a unicorn, a one of one." We have a term where we come in. So there are a lot of companies doing specialty restoration, electronics, art,
Mhm.
and textiles, dry cleaning, and whatnot.
Yeah,
Cabinets are the biggest cost of any kind of reconstruction project. We call it ECR, emergency cabinet removal. We go in
yeah.
within 24 hours, pull the cabinets. We try to save the face frames and doors. This is the magic of what we do. Try to save the face frames and doors. We will rebuild a new box behind the old face frames and doors and then reinstall. And there's some proprietary processes and ways that we do that that make it very simple on the reinstallation as well. But you're only insured to pre-loss condition. So we're going to put the 25-year-old doors on, and then we'll write the estimate for the insurance company to clean and touch up all the cabinets, give them a new sheen, and make them look like they were, the day they were installed 25 years ago, to make your entire kitchen look clean and fresh. So,
That's incredible. And so again, to make sure the listeners are clear, without this approach that you guys have figured out, right? Kind of being the unicorn, one of one. No one else is able to replicate what you guys are doing. The other alternative was what? Rip every cabinet out in the
yeah,
kitchen and replace them with what? Brand new cabinets?
take a sledgehammer to the cabinets and the countertops and everything else in the kitchen, put new backsplash, new countertops, new cabinets, upper and lower, and it that's why it costs so much and takes so much time. Typically the lag time is ordering the new custom cabinets to be
Oh
built to
yeah.
the specs of the kitchen, and that's why
Yeah.
it's 4, sometimes 6 months.
We just built a custom house that we moved into a little over a year ago, and I think we ordered our cabinets at least 6 months before
Hmm.
they were ready to be put in, and I know how much they cost too. So I would not be thrilled to have to rip them out and put new ones in,
Yeah.
even if insurance was paying for it. Does that sometimes result in a gap that the homeowner has to cover? Because I think you said earlier, the insurance typically is only going to cover pre-loss condition, right? So if they're having
Well,
to
so
rip
if,
out
if
everything,
yeah, so insurance would cover that, but it was only because there was no solution to repair
ah,
it versus
okay,
replace it. And they would tell the insurance company, the restoration or reconstruction company or remodeling company would say, "We cannot repair these. There's no possible way to do that. We have to tear it out, and then the insurance company has to give you a working kitchen." So they had to put the entire new kitchen in. So yeah, so that's the win for the insurance company is no
yeah, they're
longer do we have to go to all that expense and all that time and effort involved. We can solve that at a fraction of the cost at a fraction of the time.
so naturally they love you guys, and their preference whenever possible is going to be repair over replace.
That's
How
right.
much? Because I know you said, like, the kind of the process, the approach, some of the techniques, go back over a decade. But in terms of RenewMedic as a standalone brand, you're pretty early into it at this point. Has there been like an education process with, I guess it's the insurance adjusters that are like, how have you guys gone about
Yeah.
helping them understand, like, hey, there is a different way to do this. It can save money, it can save time. um because I imagine that's not something that can just happen overnight.
Every new market, we have to educate mitigation companies, we have to educate adjusters and homeowners on what's possible for sure. We've got a process for that. We have a whole sales team, local sales team that come in and support franchisees on how to do that, present to adjusters, present to mitigation companies, and show them and prove to them. We might even offer, let me do one job for you for free to just show you what we can do because nobody believes it. Nobody's ever seen it. And
I
so,
mean, it almost sounds too good to be true, and
yeah,
usually when it sounds too good to be true, we know it's not. But
right. But
in this
again, we've
case,
been doing this for over a decade. And the interesting part is we were born from ServiceMaster, and
Mhm.
ServiceMaster behind Servpro, I think, is the second largest disaster restoration company in the world. They had relationships with some of the largest, most of the largest insurance companies. We were able to bring some of those with us. So Farmers, Allstate, Liberty Mutual, and others, where we have national program work at a company our size. We just started franchising. We just issued our FDD in March and been franchising since. We converted some over, but since we have those programs, those companies are well aware of what we do and are very experienced because we've been doing it in a number of different markets for years and years. And so we literally have insurance companies begging us to sell franchises. They get it. They can educate their local adjusters because they're big national companies. And so it's not as going in cold as you might think. We come in with a lot of experience and a lot of background with some of the biggest. Liberty Mutual and Allstate and Farmers are all in the top 10 companies in the
yeah.
U.S.
Yeah, well, and those types of relationships are hugely beneficial as you continue to bring in new franchisees where they may still have to go and meet the local adjusters in their area, but there's already that kind
Right.
of bigger national relationship that's going to help get their foot in the door. I'm sure word spreads quickly too, right? All these adjusters are incentivized, by keeping the budgets low, keeping the timelines shorter, just keeping things moving and as cost effective of a manner as possible. So, one adjuster has a great experience with RenewMedic. They're probably telling their other adjuster buddies, hey, you need to keep this company on speed dial next time you have cabinet damage.
That's exactly what happens. And every job you do has an adjuster attached to it. So
Right.
every new job has somebody looking at what you do. And the business evolves over time. In 5 years, it's no longer working necessarily directly through a mitigation company. It might be an adjuster saying, do not touch those cabinets, Mr. Mitigation Company. Don't touch those cabinets until RenewMedic gets here and gives me an estimate. So when the adjusters get to know you, they can see the quality of your work. It blossoms into quite a business.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I mean, couple things I want to highlight here, and then we'll get into more of kind of the logistics behind the scenes. What does the business look like from the owner's perspective, from an infrastructure standpoint? But want to highlight the fact that, like you said, RenewMedic really is born out of the ServiceMaster organization, which is a legacy brand, been around for a very, very long time, have brands in basically every nook and cranny of the restoration industry as a whole. So you mentioned some private equity partners that you have, right? So this is not your typical emerging brand on paper. In terms of number of units, it's an emerging brand, right? But it's not your typical emerging brand. When you look at the leadership team, you gave us a little bit of kind of your background in franchising, very, very experienced. Other folks on the leadership team are the same. You've got the capital behind it. A lot of times emerging brands are really kind of bootstrapping it. They're relying on the next franchise sell to get those franchise fees to make sure they can cover payroll and just, their overhead. So that alone, from my perspective as a consultant working with hundreds of brands and advising people, that's unique, that's special, that has my attention, right?
It
And then
is.
it's everything else too, right? The fact that you guys are in this massive industry that's attractive for a lot of people to want to get into. But if you're just getting into, water and mold remediation, right? Like, that's a tough market to break into at this point. There are, in
Yeah.
any market in the country, there's going to be some very established players that have been there for a long time. We'll get right back to the episode in just a minute, but if you've been considering business ownership, if you're already a business owner looking to expand and you're curious about franchising, I'd love to connect with you, answer any initial questions that you have, talk about a specific franchise, and detail the exact process that I use and have taken hundreds of people through to help them understand franchise ownership, find the right franchise for them, and conduct the necessary due diligence. Click the link in the show notes if you'd like to schedule a free, no obligation strategy call. I look forward to talking with you. And now back to the episode.
So we when we think about that, and many of our support staff came from ServiceMaster, other disaster restoration, or the insurance companies. We have a franchise business consultant who has spent years as a farmer's adjuster and knows the mind of an adjuster. Um, we get stories. I got stories from an old VP of operations at 12:30 a.m. on Christmas morning. He got a call and he had to be on site within 4 hours. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, he was extracting sewage out of somebody's basement on Christmas morning, and he had no other options. That's
You must
24/7.
have been on the naughty list.
And this is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and you get all those
Yes.
different mitigation companies in any given city. There might be 40 of them. They're all fighting over those water and fire damage jobs, and you can be the cabinet subcontractor for each and every one of them. You get to see
Yep.
the entire market, and so it's a very unique opportunity. We take
Very,
a lot of
very unique. And
coolest
you
ideas.
you hit on something that's very important there. Like, I have a husband and wife team that I've been working with over the past few months, recommended some specific franchises based on, their background, their interests, their goals. One of their big goals is they want to be able to spend more time traveling in their RV, right? Husband works for a big Amazon delivery route company, right? He runs operations for that. So, he's working 80 hours a week. Like, holidays and stuff like that are their peak times, right? Because everyone's buying more crap from Amazon and shipping it around. So anyways, one of the brands they're looking at is a restoration brand, because that was something they came to me having a specific interest in, right? They knew what a lot of people know about these restoration businesses. You kind of have built-in demand, right? It doesn't depend on whether the economy's good or bad or somewhere in the middle. If a pipe bursts and your basement floods, like, you got to get it fixed. There was a lot of things they found appealing about that. But as they really started understanding the traditional kind of restoration business model, right? That's one of the things they really clued in on is, hey, I don't know that this is going to be the best business for us, given that one of our primary goals is to have more flexibility and the ability, to travel and, kind of stay plugged into our business, even if we're not physically there. So that lifestyle piece of it, almost everyone that I work with, the lifestyle piece is as big, if not a bigger motivator than the financial side of it, right? So I think that's super important for people to realize with something like RenewMedic. You still get everything that so many people find attractive about the restoration industry, but it's going to be much more of a typical Monday through Friday 9 to 5 lifestyle
Banker,
from the
yeah,
business.
banker's hours and
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's,
navigation.
I was telling you offline, my wife and I are Shelf Genie franchisees, right? So we don't do cabinets, but we work inside of people's existing cabinets. And, one of the things we always say and kind of joke about at Shelf Genie is there's no shelving emergencies, right? So, it's not a super stressful business. It's not a, hey, drop everything and, go put out this fire for a client type of business, which is something we really appreciate about it. So, with the cabinets, I could see that being similar.
Yeah, we typically within 24 to 48 hours are in the home pulling the cabinet. So there's urgency.
Right, but it
The
doesn't have to be in the
yeah,
middle of the night. As soon as
right,
whatever the incident
right,
is has happened, which takes a lot of that pressure off. So, we've
exactly.
got this super unique, kind of approach to the business. You're solving problems for the homeowners. You're solving problems for the insurance adjusters. You've already kind of highlighted how you can come in as a RenewMedic franchisee. You can very quickly become a referral partner or a subcontractor for the ServiceMaster, the Serve Pro, the Paul Davis restorations that may already be there in your market operating. um, how do they feel about, like, how would a Paul Davis restoration feel about having a RenewMedic come into their market? Would they be excited that they could pass off the cabinet work, or are they gonna be disappointed that they're not, even though yes, they would have to go the replacement route, but is that margin that they're
So
missing out
the
on?
sales pitch for a mitigation company, and they all have a cabinet subcontractor. They hate cabinets for the most part. Very few of them
Okay,
have
so
a full-time
they'd
cabinet
rather
crew.
have someone to
They
pass
they
it off
always
to.
do.
Okay.
They're taking a sledgehammer to the cabinets to begin with, and the cabinet subcontractor is just installing a new kitchen. So they're a remodeling contractor that may or may not have time to get to them and get them on the schedule 3 weeks later. And so we're the only ones that can react immediately and take care of a problem. So insurance companies care about two things, and one of them is cycle time. From the time a claim starts to the time it ends, any company that can shorten cycle time because they have to reserve against that loss.
Yeah.
And if you can, and State Farm gets over 10,000 claims per day. So any company that can shorten that
Wow.
is going to get more leads. Mitigation companies, there's two parts to every job. There's the mitigation side, the water extraction and drying, and then there's the reconstruction side. The mitigation side profit is 3 times what the reconstruction side is. We can show a mitigation company, if we shorten that time, you can get a whole lot more of these high profit jobs, and we'll take that and the job is done in 3 weeks instead of being on the job for 5 months. And so that's that. So they're going to lose a new kitchen, but their profit margin on that's significantly lower. But if we can show them how we can double or triple the number of jobs they're getting on the water extraction, they get excited. So once
Well,
they
and it
understand that
and
we
it
have,
shrinks that timeline to finish a job completely, I imagine,
right,
which is
it's
probably
all
also gonna have some impact on their cash flow, right? Like, if
absolutely,
the job takes another 2 months longer to get finished, that's
absolutely,
longer that they're waiting to get paid, at least, paid in full on the job. So it sounds like, if I'm a RenewMedic franchisee, launching this in coastal North and South Carolina, where we live, kind of my number one priority is get in front of adjusters, get in front of the other restoration remediation companies, so I can start educating them on what we do.
that's
If
correct.
I'm talking to the other restoration companies, hey, we're not coming in here to compete with you. We can actually, be a great partner for you. For
Exactly.
the adjusters, it's educating them on how we can save time and money. Once you do that, once you get a few of these jobs under your belt, been able to kind of prove yourself, then it's just building momentum from there.
Yeah, at that point, the adjusters start demanding your services, and it just evolves and it just becomes this really cool business that just keeps feeding itself. So
Yeah. So I know some of it's proprietary, in terms of the actual approach that you guys are taking, but I mean, what can you share with us, and kind of tie this into the infrastructure, right? Because this is
Sure.
not, this is not like a home-based business where maybe you need a storage unit. Like there's some real infrastructure that's needed, in order to really run this business the way that it should be run. So what does that look like, and kind of tie that into as much as you're able or willing
No,
to
I,
share
I
with
can
us
give
on
you all the
Facebook.
details here. So the typical investment is going to be $500,000 to $750,000. You're gonna as a franchisee have essentially a full custom cabinet building shop. You're going to
Yeah.
start with at least 7,500 square feet of flex industrial space. We've had franchisees open 10 and 12,000 square feet. Our largest franchisees doing multi millions are at 25,000 square feet. But you're going to start with about a 7,500 square foot facility. You're going to have a CNC cutting machine that can cut all the cabinet parts. You're going to have an edge bander, which is a unique piece of equipment that solves a whole lot of problems. It's a great piece.
I'm
You're
familiar
going
with
to
an edge bander. Yeah.
have a table saw, and you're going to have a spray booth. And so you're going to
Yeah.
start with a very highly skilled carpenter or a highly skilled finisher. The finisher is going to be able to color match, and we have a ready to match stain system to match any color stain, even if it's on a 40-year-old cabinet or a 100-year-old cabinet. We can perfectly color match that stain and replace any parts that need to be replaced. So you're going to have the cabinet builder, the finisher. You're going to have one highly skilled cabinet installer and then one junior technician. So you'll have a crew of two pulling the cabinets and the emergency cabinet removal and then reinstalling. And we part of our proprietary process is to simplify the reinstallation of that and get a custom fit on a floor that may not be level and countertops that may not be
Right.
level, but to get a perfect custom fit under that countertop in a
Mhm.
very short period of time. So you're going to have this shop, and you're going to be able to do just about anything. So if you're on the job, you put your estimate in, and our average ticket is about $8,000. Typically, about 2,500 to pull the cabinets and 5,500 to repair and put those back in. You're on a job, and that homeowner decides they want a new kitchen anyway. They're just going to take that check for $8,000. You still have this custom, you still have this cabinet installation crew. You can rep new cabinet manufacturers, stay on the job and say, hey, we can put that new kitchen in for you. And we also, as franchisees get bigger, offer cabinet transformation services. Once they get really good at the insurance, they go the direct to consumer, redoor, reface,
Refacing. Yeah.
recolor, or do a clean and touch up and a refresh on the cabinets altogether. So you
And is that,
essentially have a full custom cabinet building shop with all of the skills necessary to do anything with cabinets.
yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. And that's why, it's I think a lot of people, when they hear about these types of kind of more service-based, territory-based franchises, they're not used to hearing startup costs in the half a million to $750,000 range. But this is a big operation from an infrastructure standpoint. But I mean, there's quite literally no ceiling on how big of a business you can go build if you have the ability to scale, right.
These businesses are designed, and we when we built our territory sizes, we designed each territory to be able to provide a significant revenue stream. Our territories are 250,000 single family homes, which is typically about a million to a million three in
Yeah.
population.
Yeah.
So you're buying very large territories, and if 2% of all the homes get water or fire damage, and 250,000 homes, that's 5,000 damaged homes, and if over half of
2%,
those,
is that like a national average,
a
2%?
national average, 2% of all homes will get water or fire damage every year, no matter what, and typically not all that not all that skewed to weather. Our
Sure.
bread and butters on refrigerators failing, dishwashers, kitchen sinks, ice makers, all kinds of hot water heaters that pour water down, all kinds of mechanical failures. So but yes, and so 2% of those, that's 5,000 homes. If at least half of those have damaged cabinets, which they do, that's 2,500 potential jobs. If you get just 10% of those, and again, you get to see the entire spectrum. You're the only one who does this. at $8,000 a job, that's $2 million of revenue, just 250 jobs times 8,000. So these
Yeah.
businesses
And
are designed
some
to
of those
scale.
jobs are going to be bigger, and
Yeah,
over time you're going to, especially once the adjusters really get a good understanding of how valuable you are to them. Like, yeah, I think those are pretty conservative numbers, right? And I like the way you break that down. I was having this exact conversation with one of my candidates earlier this week because they were concerned about their market and whether or not, the particular franchise they're looking at, if there were enough people in their territory that could afford and would want this particular product. And so I kind of ran them through an exercise like that. I said, okay, well,
mhm,
you're looking at two territories. It's the total number of houses in your territories. Take the average job, figure out the average job size, that the franchise publishes in their FDD. How many jobs would you need to do in a year just to have $1 million business? And then I said, okay, now divide that into the total number of households you have in your territory. And it literally came out to like 0.01% or something like that.
mhm.
And that, like, I could see their perspective shift on it because they're like, oh, okay, like this is not, we got to go figure out how to sell this to everyone. This
Right.
is just need to make sure the right people know who we are, what we do, and how we can help. And this is exactly the same. It's just the other beauty of this, and this is why a lot of people are attracted to the restoration industry. You don't need a massive budget for marketing and advertising, right? It's going out and developing these
Yeah.
relationships and then coming through and delivering on what you tell them you can do, and then the business is going to keep flowing.
And this work is not a luxury. It's not an option. If something
Yeah,
happens, it has to be done.
yeah,
And the
for sure.
insurance company is paying your check. They're your customer, and the homeowner is a stakeholder, and the mitigation company is a stakeholder. But it's going to get done. The insurance company is going to pay that check, and oftentimes we get paid that check before we even do the work because they just want to
Really.
close out the claim and
That was something I wanted to ask you about was, kind of what the cash flow model looks like on a typical job, because that's
yeah,
something
the only
people
time
are aware
cash
of,
flow
right?
becomes an issue is when you're acting as a subcontractor for a mitigation company, and they may their job, other parts of the job go along and they delay a payment, but typically it's less than 30 days. It's not a
No.
major
Okay.
issue in this business.
Yeah. Well, and if you're prepared for that coming into it, meaning you've got
Mhm.
ample working capital on hand, eventually, as long as you're consistent, it'll start to come out in the wash from a cash flow
Exactly.
standpoint.
Exactly.
So what is the so you need a talented carpenter. Um, you need your guys that can do the removals and the installs. How difficult is it to find the folks with the skill set?
Interestingly enough, it's not difficult at all. In Charlotte, North Carolina, when we opened, he put out those four job descriptions, four job postings on Indeed, and got 408 applications. His problem was to sort through 408 resumes and figure out which ones to interview. But there are a lot of custom cabinet shops that have gone out of business in the last couple of years. There's a lot of skilled carpenters out there, a lot of skilled remodelers. You provide them a stable position in a shop building. I tell people is what we do is not rocket science. We build a box out of wood. That's all we do.
Right.
And so, but you give a carpenter the opportunity to sit in front of one saw with a CNC machine and an edge bander and to do all that, have all that resource and just build a box every day. They get really excited about that.
Well, yeah, and they don't have to worry about figuring out where the work's going to come from. Like
Exactly.
I've seen that in so many of these kind of trades businesses where a lot of times people's first kind of assumption is that, man, anyone that would be worth hiring is either already going to have their own business, or B, if I hire them, what's to keep them from, then going out and starting their own company and competing against me. You got someone that's a very talented trim carpenter. Um, Chances are they're really, really good at that, and that's how they prefer to spend their time. But they're not as savvy when it comes to figuring out how to, market their business or run paid ads or go out and navigate, the insurance landscape of figuring out what adjusters to talk to and how to do the billing and all of that. So, in most cases, they're going to be super happy if they can plug in with a company that can just feed them the work. And like you said, they just get to sit there and kind of do what they like to do and what they're really good at all day, every day. And I imagine, with a business like RenewMedic, you're able to pay these guys really well too.
Significantly better than
Yeah.
what, we typically hire some people from mitigation companies, and that's 24/7. And we can give them better hours and better pay. The interesting part is most mitigation is price fixed. There's only a certain amount an insurance company will pay you to remove water, to put air movers and dehumidifiers in a home. They can only be in there a certain number of days. Everything we do is custom, so nothing is price fixed, and we typically can pay significantly more than they can get elsewhere. So it's a very unique opportunity, and we've been opening units left and right in just the past couple of months, and it's not been an issue for us to find very highly skilled labor.
Yeah. We'll get right back to the episode, but I wanted to quickly share a free resource with you. If you're curious about franchise ownership and want to learn more about how countless people, including myself, have leveraged franchising as a way to create more freedom for themselves and to take control of their livelihood, I've put together an ebook. It's called Franchise Wealth Creation, and it's the perfect starting point for anyone that's just curious to learn more about this whole franchise thing and how I've helped hundreds of other people navigate all the steps involved in understanding and researching franchising. So click the link in the show notes, fill out a short form. I'll send you the ebook. I think it's a great starting point if you're curious at all about learning more about franchising. All right, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, man, there's a lot that's really unique about this one. What's the owner's what should the franchise owner's primary focus be? And as a follow up to that, take them in whichever order you want. But who's a good owner for this type of
Sure.
business?
Yeah. No, I'll take that head on there. So as a new owner, you're going to wear several hats. You're going to be the general manager, you're going to be the estimator, you're going to be the salesperson. And over time, as your business grows, we know at what revenue levels you need to take a hat off and put it on somebody else's head. So you will hire an estimator. But the core focus, and one thing we've seen, we own 5 of these as corporate locations. We purchased franchisees, is that the general manager, the owner, needs to be focused on business development, getting out in front of adjusters, talking to them, getting out in front of mitigation companies, talking to them. And what we found was, a new owner would go out and have a whole lot of business come back in and just focus on getting that work done and not be out for 2 weeks. And we're seeing business go like this. And
Yeah.
let's get that general manager always out in the field driving revenue, so things are just stable. And so that's the role of an owner, is business development. The key uh, new owner persona would be a white collar worker who's managed blue collar employees. What we're seeing, we have a
Mm.
brand new franchisee in Austin, Texas, managed a Amazon warehouse. He had
Yep.
2,000 employees in that warehouse. He had probably 15 white collar, sub managers working for him, but he understood the mind of a blue collar worker, a cabinet builder, a finisher, an installer, and was comfortable managing those. And so we put that persona out there, and we're getting remarkable, strong candidates coming in. I had 3 on leadership calls this week, and just really strong people that have really great skills. And so that is kind of the persona that is ideal.
And I imagine, need owners that this is going to be their full-time focus in the beginning, not trying to juggle starting RenewMedic and continuing in a corporate role of some sort. Is that?
Well,
for the most part?
it just depends, so we do have one executive owner that hired a State Farm adjuster to be the general manager of Nashville.
Okay.
So a highly skilled general manager, if you have enough capital and can bring in the right person, you can do that. We have another person that's getting ready to sign that owns another home service business and has children running that, and we'll move a child into running this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but generally speaking, if you're working in a corporate job, yeah, you're probably going to need to give that job up and focus on this because this is where you control your future. And this represents with the scalability of the business a much better paycheck in a few years than you can get in any corporate job. So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this is the type of business where, I mean, there's really no ceiling. You can continue to grow this business over time if that's the goal. So what does this kind of look like from the owner's perspective at scale? And what I mean is, like, how does the owner's role evolve or change, possibly become more flexible, from the time they're starting out to, I mean, I know you've got
Mhm.
some franchisees that are, doing multiple seven figures, if not eight figures a year in revenue. Like, what does their day to day look like, and how's that different from when they were first starting out?
The my philosophy is there's a certain beauty in franchising, and that beauty comes from replication of success. Your ability to take your success, franchising by definition is that taking
Mhm.
one concept and spreading it across the country, but to take your success and then replicate it. To me, the opportunity here is to scale from one territory to multiple territories to multiple geographies, multiple locations, and build a business that will someday be purchased by private equity because they're the only ones that can afford to buy your business. I would say 10, 15 years from now, this business is going to have very few numbers of franchisees, but they'll all be private equity owned, and
Yeah.
because of the scalability of the business. So long term, and I tell new franchisees this, that the day you get your business to the point where you can step out and just focus on the vision of where this business is going to go in the future. You can go on vacation to Italy for 45 days and nobody knows you're gone, is the day your business just took a 50% jump in value. And so
100%. Yeah.
that's the concept, is these businesses are scalable where they can be run by professional management. They can provide the income levels to do that. You're not just buying a job.
Yeah.
um, you can hire multiple managers running multiple locations and just be that visionary owner that is just doing business development, growing new locations or whatnot. So that's my vision for the business.
I see it. It's the perfect model for someone that really wants to come in and build a big business. Something that, to your point, have a big exit to private equity, hand it down to your, kids, multi-generational type business. It's got that potential all day long. Last kind of question I have for you, and then we can kind of wrap this one up. But, what would you say to anyone that might have the concern of, okay, well, you guys are kind of paving the way in this, but what's to keep the Paul Davises, the Serve Pros of the world, the Belfour groups of the world from coming in and kind of saying, okay, well, these guys are on to something. Let's figure out how to kind of replicate it and just keep it in house.
So I would say this, there's a beauty of being in a first mover position. I think back and I can still remember the early 1970s. I've been around a long time, so I remember McDonald's had a culture back in the 70s. Owners would buy a Rolls Royce because they could afford to, and they would drive that Rolls Royce. I actually had McDonald's in Wichita, Kansas, where in the back of the parking lot would be a Rolls Royce parked. I knew that was the franchise owner. I never saw a Burger King with a Rolls Royce parked in the back. They were second movers. There's a beauty
That's
of
such a
being part
great
of
answer to that
the
question.
first,
I love
the
that.
first, being with the first mover. But certainly, other people will get involved with this. But there is a significant investment. You've got to build a skilled cabinet building, custom cabinet building shop, and so it's not the easiest thing. They're going to have to create a whole new division of their company to do it. And so I would say, we're fairly well protected for now, but there will be others that do this
Yeah, at some point, it's only
because the
natural.
insurance companies will demand it. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
well,
No, I love the Rolls Royce story though. That's a great way to answer that question. Well, Mike, man, this has been awesome. Quickly tell us where are you guys at in terms of number of franchisees. I mean this is by the time this episode comes out, the number will be different, but
yeah.
maybe answer it this way: where are you projecting to be at by the end of 2025 in terms of number of open and operating franchise
Yeah, so we
locations?
purchased 5 locations corporately, and we own 19 territories in those 5 locations. We own Sacramento, San Francisco, Memphis, Phoenix, and Chicago, parts of Chicago. And we converted 4 franchisees in Denver, Las Vegas, Detroit, and Houston. And since that time, we've sold, by the time this airs, we will have sold 15 new franchises for, let's see here, another 40 territories. And so we'll finish the year at 24 locations with 69 territories, the vast majority of those being opened. And it's just been a great first year. We've really appreciated our relationship with Repum, the connections that they have in the industry and the professionalism that they approach the business with. Is
Yep.
We were just overjoyed to be able to get them to. We were hoping that they would pay attention to us, and they did, and we've just got a great
They've got
partner.
a good eye. They've got a good eye for some of these kind of very unique brands. And quick shout out to my buddy Storm Miller, who's kind of running lead for you over there.
Yeah,
I know he's super excited about this brand, and he takes very good care of anyone that is interested in working through the process and learning more about RenewMedic. So yeah, trains rolling on this one, but
it's rolling.
like I pointed out earlier, not only is the business itself unique in the industry, but this is not like most emerging brands. Most brands that have 25 or less franchisees don't have a leadership team with the type of experience that you guys do. They don't have national accounts already in place. They don't have franchisees doing multiple 7 figures in revenue. They don't have the type of financial backing that you guys have. So this one's unique in a lot of ways. And Mike, I appreciate you coming on to share a little bit more about RenewMedic with us. Is there anything I did not ask you about that I should have?
No, Wes, I appreciate you. I mean, what you do with this podcast and the inspiration it is to people, and the path it takes them, and hope it gives them is just remarkable. I appreciate being on. This is one of the coolest businesses I've ever been involved with. It was just one of the coolest ideas, and
Brought you out of retirement.
it brought me out of retirement. My wife looked at me, she said, "You're not helping anybody." And corporate franchising is all about helping people find their dreams and achieve their dreams. And that's what I love, is
Yeah.
to find out what your vision is, maybe show you a higher vision of what you can achieve, teach you the steps to get there, and then help you every step of the way. So I'm really enjoying this ride. It's just a great culture for
Well,
us. It's all
it's
about
clear
culture,
you're
choosing
yeah, it's super
franchises.
clear you're passionate about it. And this is not going to be for everyone, right? I mean, there's
Well,
a fair amount of capital that you need to have. You need to, have some good experience and be able to go out and do the business development and as we've talked about today, those relationships are so key to the success of the business. But this for someone that's really serious about going out and building a large business, this is there's a lot to like here. So I'm excited to know more about it. Excited to see where it goes, and we'll have you back on at some point, where you can give us an update, and it'll be cool to hear where you guys are at that point. But where should people go if they want to connect with you, Mike, or learn more about RenewMedic?
you can find me on LinkedIn. You go to renewmedic.com and learn all about it there. You can certainly put information in the form fill there, and Storm Miller will reach out to you. He's one of the best in the industry. We love Storm and Carrie Tober at Repham, and they will.
Gary, not so much.
Carrie loves you, Wes.
I know. It's mutual. It's mutual, but
I know it.
uh, it wouldn't have
Everybody's
been
got to
right
give
if I
Carrie.
didn't take a little dig at Carrie. But yeah, we'll put those links in the notes to make it easy for people to find. And yeah, for those out there listening, if you're interested in learning more about the franchise, reach out to me. Go to the website, let them know you heard about it here on the Franchise Unfiltered podcast, and we will check on territory availability and see if it's a good fit to get you connected. But yeah, man, this one was a lot of fun, Mike. So
Thanks,
appreciate
Wes.
you coming on here on a Friday afternoon.
Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.